Hi, I'm Courtney at Bonneyville Mill, and we're going to do part 2 of the mill tour on video. And so most of what we did on the previous video was outside. We are going to move inside now. We're going to look at some of the machinery and some of the equipment that is inside the mill. So let's go to the basement door, and we'll go ahead inside and talk about some of the things we find. Okay, we're in the basement of Bonneyville Mill, and behind me is a wall. This wall holds the water back on the high side of the water. The dam that you saw in the first video actually builds that water level up on one side of the mill, and on the back side of the mill the water level is about 6 feet different. So essentially what we have is we have approximately 6 feet of water head or buildup of water in this area right behind me. And this is where the turbines, which actually power the mill, are located. Now a lot of people will come in, they'll say, where's your water wheel? Because they are used to seeing mills that have an external vertical water wheel. And here at Bonneyville, we have never had one of those. It's not actually odd that we don't have one of those. It's fairly common for mills of this period to have a horizontal wheel, one that runs in this direction rather than one that runs in this direction. So behind me, underneath the water here is actually 7 feet deep, okay? And the turbines are located down underneath that water. So there are 2 turbines. We have an American turbine and a Leffel turbine, and they drive the gears. You see the big greasy gears up here. The gears transfer power from the drive shaft coming off the turbine, and they bring it right to the millstones, which are on the next floor up. Let's look around at some of the other stuff that's here. One of the popular spots here is our toilet. Basically a little shroud with a hole in the floor, and that's probably what the school kids enjoy most about the basement. Sometimes maybe about the entire mill tour is the old-time toilet that we have. So when you go right down into the river. So I usually tell people that the neighbor kids just down river from the mill didn't like swimming in the water. So that's my joke. Anyway, underneath the floor here in the basement, the water does flow. It comes, there's water flowing across. This is the overflow section, okay? But the water that flows through the turbines, when we open the gates to let the water drive those, actually goes down and underneath our feet under the floor here. If you look here, we have a display area. We have a number of old wooden pulleys and gears. Gears and pulleys are used to transfer power from the drive shaft that comes off the top of the turbine to other machinery that's in the mill here. We also have back here one of the original millstones. This is a French burr millstone. And you saw a little bit about the millstones in the last video. And we have a reel from a reel sifter, an old wood stove, and just some other old equipment that was used at one time in Bonneyville Mill. We're going to head upstairs to the grinding floor. This is where the flour gets made, and we're going to actually do some grinding. So let's go on up. At Bonneyville, we pride ourselves in having a nice, clean operation here. And we are producing a food product, so that's important. We have been taking some extra precautions with the health crisis that's going on right now. And so during our grinding process, not only do we wash hands very frequently, but we also wear masks now to protect us, to protect the public from anything that might harm them. So that's why I've got the mask on now. And we're going to go ahead and do some grinding of corn. If you look behind me here, inside of this window, this is one of those millstones that we saw outside. We saw one in the basement there. And there are two, and they are in pairs. So there's a top millstone. The top millstone is called the runner stone. The bottom millstone is the bed stone. So just to shrink it down for you a little bit, see what's going on here. What you're looking at through the window is just a little section of that top runner stone. The top runner stone has a hole in the center. This is called the eye of the stone. This is where the grain drops down and gets caught between the two stones. This one fits right up against the bottom stone, or the bed stone, and only the top stone turns. The bottom stone is stationary. So when I put the water to the turbine and let it start to move, it is also going to move the top millstone here as well. It's a direct drive, so the only way to shut it off is to shut the water flow off to the turbine. Okay, I'm up on top of the grinding platform now, and this is a big hopper. It's like a giant funnel, and it contains the grain, which in this case is corn. And the grain gets put into the top of the hopper, and it falls down into a shaker tray that is located just below the exit to the hopper. So it will funnel down into the shaker tray, and the shaker tray does exactly what its name says. It will shake, and as it shakes, it will drop grain down into the eye of the top stone. Let's remove the covers. Okay, so what we have here is we have the millstone from the top view here. The center hole is the eye. We've kind of improvised a catch system that helps to funnel the corn down into that eye. You don't have to use something like that, but it prevents corn from getting on the outside and then whole kernels getting sent down into the cornmeal. With the corn grinding, we actually grind the cornmeal, and it will drop down this downspout, and then it travels up this paddle conveyor, and this paddle conveyor takes the cornmeal upstairs, switches over to another downspout, and then this downspout takes the cornmeal into a sifter. This sifter will separate the bigger pieces from the little pieces. So the fines, or the corn flour, ends up in a bucket on this side. The grits and the hulls, or the bigger pieces, end up in a bucket on this side. And then the cornmeal itself ends up in the center bin. Let's go ahead and put some water to the turbine and see if we can get this to start turning. First, we want to make sure and get some corn flowing in there first. I got a little slide that controls that. Alright, this wheel operates the doors or the gates that surround the turbine in the basement under the water. And when the water starts to flow through there, it's going to start to turn that inside runner wheel on the turbine. like this. Goes into the eye. And this is what we get once it's passed across the stones. You can see there's pieces in there, but the sifter is going to take care of all of that. In the bucket, we're getting all the very finest parts of the cornmeal. In the middle, we get some small pieces and some of the fines that are in the cornmeal. And on the far side, we get the bigger chunks. And every once in a while, a whole kernel of corn will make its way through into this bucket. Alright, we're going to go ahead and bag up some of the product. And the miller, of course, wanted to treat everyone fairly. So we have a scale here that we'll be weighing the bag on to make sure that the customer is getting the proper amount of cornmeal. I'm just guessing here. We'll see what this looks like on the scale. This should be a 2-pound bag of cornmeal. Uh-oh. Over 2.5 pounds. It's like I'm a little out of practice, but we'll just give the customer a little bonus today. And there we have it. One complete bag of cornmeal ready for sale. Alright, we're one floor above the grinding floor, so we've been in the basement. The main floor is the grinding floor, this is the second floor. And so what we're looking at here is some of the machinery that we have. This is a sifter, and this is used for sifting the hulls off of the buckwheat. Buckwheat is a product that Bonneyville has offered for sale for many years, and this will take the hulls, which are kind of big and not digestible, and it will take those hulls and sift them off so that you have just the usable flour left. This is a scale hopper. This can be used to either store or to weigh large quantities of grain. Right behind me here, this number 3, this is the main drive shaft. This comes off the top of the turbine down in the basement underneath the water, and this runs all the way up to the top floor. So here you can see we have a pulley. This pulley transfers power from the drive shaft when it's spinning, and it brings power over to this gearbox. This runs the elevator, okay, or the paddle conveyor that brings the cornmeal up and then drops it down into the sifter. And then this belt here also drives the sifter itself. So everything, again, powered by the water, and the power from the falling water is brought to the mill through the use of the turbine water wheel. Let's go up one more floor. We're on the 3rd floor now, and this is the top floor. Bonneyville is for 1837, which was the year that we believe it was completed as a mill. A very tall building. So I like to tell the kids it's kind of like an old skyscraper back in those days. And if you want to look, take a look out the door, you can see just exactly how high we are up here. Now, up here on this floor, this is where the main grain cleaning took place. And the grain would be unloaded outside the main grinding floor, off a wagon, and it would be transferred up to this floor using the grain legs or the elevators that look like wooden boxes in the background here. So the grain would come up, and then it would go through this piece of machinery that we see behind me here. This is our main grain cleaner. And the grain cleaner would clean the grain. In other words, it would take all of the contaminants and non-grain particles off of the grain. It does that by using screens and by using wind to blow some of the lighter products off the top. So back in the back, in the clear back, we have a big shelf of the screens that were used for the different kinds of grain that were unloaded here at the mill. The grain cleaner is powered by the turbine water wheel, and so it would have to be belted up back here. This is the main drive shaft. This is where the power is coming off the top of the turbine. We have a wooden pulley here, and over here we have a belt, and this belt can be placed on the pulley, and this will run a line shaft on the other side of me over here, and that will transfer power to different machinery, including the main grain cleaner. Now, I like to ask kids, since we talked about what a big building this was from 1837, I usually like to ask, so how long do you think it took to build this building? And I get lots of answers, as you can imagine. But legend has it that Bonneyville, the mill, was constructed by 100 men in one day's time. Now, that doesn't include all the completions of the building, but that was the main frame of the building was erected in one day. So that's what the legend says. We don't know for sure, but it went up pretty quickly and didn't take as long as people might think. I hope you've enjoyed your visit here today to Bonneyville Mill, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing some of the things that we do here and some of the products that we produce. So I want to say goodbye, and thanks again for coming.